Hello, everyone. I'm Charles Hall, and today I have a very special guest, Jennifer O'Neill. Jennifer's from Ontario, Canada, but she's an expert in quality management. I would say one of the top people in the world. She may push back on that, but I feel like she is. She's got a lot of experience here with quality management, and as you guys know, this is staring us down here in the United States, so we got to start getting prepared quickly so that we can meet the deadline for the new quality management standards that were issued by the AICPA. So I'm going to let Jennifer tell us who she is, a little bit about her background.
Thanks, Charles. Very flattering. Thank you for those kind words. I have been involved in the quality management standards for quite a while. I am a CPA CA here in Canada. I've been practicing for almost 25. Well, it might be over 25 years now. But in the last number of years, really focused in on the audit standards and quality management standards. So I was the author of the Quality Management Guide for CPA Canada. And I've taken that information. We've in Canada, we had the quality management standards were put into place December of last year. So I definitely have been ingrained in these standards for a few years now, and have gone through the application. And I've just created also just a software program, a cloud-based application to help firms have a starting point and really be able to design and implement and then operate, monitor their quality management system on an ongoing basis.
Yeah, so tell us the name of the software, and we're going to come back to this at the end of the video, but just real quickly.
Yeah, it's Tilaus, Tilaus, .io is where you find us.
Okay, very good. So I know for the people in the audience, they're wondering where in the world do I start? You know, I've spent myself a lot of time looking at the new SQMS 1 and 2 standards. There's other relevant standards that have come out. There's a lot of information to digest. So, can you tell us, I don't even know where to begin. So, tell me where to start.
Yeah, I mean, think that you're right. I mean, the first place to start is you got to read the standard. It's not actually that bad. There's a lot of application guidance that goes with it to kind of walk you through it. But I think when you start to get into it and you start to look at what the requirements are, it's really going to be starting looking at what you do yourself. What are you already doing? One of the big things about the standard is really turning the lens on your own firm and really thinking about where is it that something could go wrong. And when you just take away kind of all of the wording and the requirements and all the big picture type stuff that's in the standard, it's really about managing our firms with quality being at the forefront and what could prevent us from achieving that quality. And I think when you think about it in those terms and you start to break it down in terms of what is it that you do and where could things go wrong, the standard as you read through it will become a little bit more clear and make some more sense.
Yeah, so these quality management standards, when we apply these to different firms here in the US, and you've done it throughout Canada, I take it the quality management system looks quite different from firm to firm.
It does. It looks very different. And I think that's the benefit of this new standard. Um, when you look at the standard, there's only one thing that's going to be pretty much common in all of the firms, and that's the quality objectives. So the standard actually tells you what the quality objectives are. Sorry. And then you think about what is it that is about your firm? What is unique about your firm that would cause you from prevent you from achieving those objectives? And so that's where we're going to see a lot of differences is how do you operate your firm? What's management's leadership style? How do you structure the engagements, your engagement teams, your staff? And that all contributes to identifying what they call quality risks. And those are going to be what prevents you from achieving those objectives. And then each firm is going to have to figure out what makes the most sense for them to respond to those risks.
Yeah, so this is a risk based type approach, which is different than what we've been doing here under what we used to call quality control standards. So now we're using a risk based approach. And so, as you've done this with other firms, what are the key challenges you're seeing for CPAs in Canada and now in the US as we implement this?
I think one of the key challenges, first of all, is getting past the worry about compliance. Because I think compliance falls out of it. So when firms just go into it with a mindset of, okay, what is it that I need to do, in terms of meeting the compliance, I think that's where you can change that mindset and get a lot of value for it. So once you overcome that first challenge, it's then figuring out where to start and where those risks lie within your firm and looking to see really where those things could go wrong. So when we're working with firms, I think the first one, once they get past the compliance and they start to say, okay, what is it that can go wrong? It's a little difficult sometimes to put that lens on ourselves. I think we're very good at doing it for our clients. If we have an audit client, we can go in, we can identify those risks. But when we're looking at ourselves, sometimes our bias gets in the way and we think there's just no risk here. There's nothing that could go wrong. But I think, and I mentioned this to you earlier, is that every single firm that I've worked with, even if they are just a sole practitioner, has had at least one aha moment
Yeah.
where they have, just really opened their mind and thought, what could really go wrong? And then they went, oh, you know what? I've never thought about that before. So
Yeah.
I think that's one of the challenges for sure, is just keeping an open mind, and
Yeah.
removing that bias.
Yep, yep. So, there are a lot of compliance elements here, but as you said to me the other day, the main thing is, can this approach lessen the potential legal liability that firms have? And I think you and I both agree that it can.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think the Canadian standards before were very similar to the US as well, where we had just quality control, set of policies and procedures. We had what we called our quality assurance manual, and it was pretty much the same firm to firm. And a lot of firms just, they put it on their shelves. They bring it
Yep,
down once every couple of years for practice inspection when
yep,
we get our peer reviews. But it really wasn't something that they used to manage risk within their firm.
yeah.
And
We're
that's what
we're
I think.
guilty of that too here in the U.S. So we've
Yeah.
had
So
this quality control document. It's mainly copied from somewhere, and then that's our QC document. I don't know that it really made a lot of difference, some, but not like this standard is going to.
yeah. And I think the other thing that's important for firms who have those policies and procedures is, if they have tailored them and it's something that they've already done, like, don't get rid of it. That's a starting point for when we
Right.
start to develop our responses.
Yep.
Just because, the standard has changed doesn't mean that what we're doing doesn't make sense. So I
Yes.
like it to be a starting point, and then for us to say, does it still make sense? Is there a reason, or is there a better way to approach it? But at least it's a starting point.
Right. So with those old documents in hand, can say somebody like me, I need help. I don't understand this. Can I outsource this type of work to somebody like you? And if so, how much of that can I do? I know I've got to have the primary responsibility, but can I outsource?
There are elements that you can outsource for sure. I have a policy. I don't work with firms. I don't do it for them, because I truly believe this to be a risk management tool. And I believe that the partners of the firms need to be involved.
Right.
And at the end of the day, the firm has to maintain ultimate responsibility over that quality management system. So they can't outsource that part of it. They could outsource reviewing it. Does it make sense? They could outsource Can you assist me in coming up with some best ways to deal with this? Or, can you help me brainstorm? I've done workshops with firms where, we walk through and I help them all the way along. You can outsource that part of it. Monitoring activities, you can have an external monitor come in, make sure that your policies and procedures and your quality management system as a whole is operating like you want it to, and it is in fact meeting its objectives. But at the end of the day, it's just the buck stops with whoever has that ultimate responsibility, and the firm can't outsource that piece of it.
Yeah, so help me with this part. So I'm looking at SQMS 2, which has to do with a quality reviewer that gets
Yes.
appointed to look, and the quality reviewer under this standard, this review has to be done on certain high risk engagements, and that'll be determined by the firm. So that has to be done before the issuance of, say, an audit report. How does
Correct.
that dovetail with the monitoring piece? So I'm understanding, okay, we're going to do an engagement quality review on certain high risk engagements, but it sounds like there's an overall monitoring process in addition to that.
Yeah, and they serve different purposes. So the quality management standard number 1 tells us when we need to do the engagement quality reviews. And then the quality management system, I can't remember the exact terminology here, but number 2 deals
Right.
with how to go about performing those engagement quality reviews. So that's based on the particular engagement. It is very much a risk-based review. So they
Mm-hmm.
are looking at the engagement team's judgments and their decisions that they made during that engagement. Monitoring and there's 2 different aspects of the monitoring where you may actually go look at an engagement file. One is
Right.
like a periodic monitoring activity where you would make sure that your policy or procedure at the engagement level is in place. And
Mm-hmm.
then the second piece to that is a completed file inspection. And the completed file inspection is more like a general review of the working paper file. Was it performed in accordance with the underlying standards, the accounting standards, or the assurance standards? So it has a different viewpoint than
Right.
an EQR would have. An
Right.
EQR is definitely just at the engagement level. It is because it's a high risk engagement, challenging the engagement team, including the engagement partner, about the decisions that were made within the file, where the other
So
ones are more about policies, procedures, and adherence to standards.
okay, so I'm hearing you say there will be pre-issuance reviews as well as post-issuance reviews.
Yes. So the EQR is definitely a pre-issuance
Right.
review.
Okay.
Um, the post-issuance review is is what we now call the completed file inspection. So, and that's done on a cyclical basis. So that may be done depending on, the risks that were identified. That cyclical basis, which isn't really defined, could be like every 2-3 years.
Yeah, so as I understand it, these standards they're really to help us to comply with professional standards and make sure we issue the right reports. If we get those 2 things right, then all is good in the
Yes.
CPA world. Is this a one-time effort? I mean, do we set up this system and hit go and then we're done?
Oh goodness, no. And I think that's one of the big things that it has changed from the previous standard, where we just kind of put those policies and procedures on the shelf. Is that there is an expectation that you're going to continually monitor your quality management system. So if something changes within your firm, does that impact your quality management system? Then you need to put monitoring activities in place depending on the underlying risks and the nature of the system itself. And then on an annual basis, at least an annual basis, form a conclusion and evaluate that system of quality management, whether or not it's meeting its objectives. So there is this annual, I would say minimal annual requirement. Larger firms are going to be having, possibly ongoing monitoring activities that they build into their actual policies and procedures, to make sure that their policies and procedures are working. The
Yeah.
quality management system is working. So it is really this continual improvement system,
Yeah.
and it's not just a once and done activity.
Yeah, so when I look at this, I think of Captain Kirk on the Starship Enterprise, and he's looking through his big window into the universe, and there's new risks from time to time. So he's changing what he's doing based on those risks. So this is really a real time system, if it's
Yeah.
done right, that really mitigates the risk of noncompliance and the risk of potentially being sued one day because we didn't do what we should have done. So, in closing, how about telling us what you offer and then how to get in touch with you?
Yeah, great. Well, I work with accounting firms all over on the quality management standards. So, helping firms design and implement their standard. As I said, I have workshops that I actually work with firms in order to implement their quality management system. We have the tool in Tilos that we use to support the implementation. It provides a bit of a starting point. As you said, where do you start? So we provide some default risks that you may find in your firm, but you always have the ability to scale up, see what is a risk, create new risks, and then address those risks with responses. So in the standard, they have specified responses. We have those in the tool as well. So we have the software tool to enable firms to be able to actually go through and design and implement, as well as monitor and do your evaluation. And then I just work with firms to make sure that they can get there in an efficient and effective manner. So best way to get a hold of me is email. So I'm jennifer@tilos.io. And our website has lots of information, including a demo of the product. And that's just tilaus.io, tilaus.io.
Very good. Oh, thank you, Jennifer. This has been enlightening, as I knew it would be. And hope you guys have a good day. We appreciate you watching the video. So bye now.
Thank you.